It's the beginning of severe weather season in the US, at least where I live. So that means lightning, hail, possible tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, all that kind of stuff. So today I want to walk you through some of the weather integrations available in Home Assistant and then set up some automation such as lightning and weather alerts to alert you when there's potential severe weather in your area or wherever your Home Assistant is configured. Now just note that there are lots of official channels for severe weather alerting and safety messages. Home Assistant should not be used as a replacement for the official channels. However, you can use Home Assistant to set up some pre-alerting or some alerting for specific scenarios for where you live, and also give you a heads up when something's coming up in case you might have missed a severe alert. I'll also show you a quick little dashboard that I built with all of the weather stuff on it, including a radar map that you can pull up and watch while that weather's going on. So let's get started. Before I talk about weather integrations in Home Assistant, I want to talk about local weather information. And by that, I mean my local weather station that I have in my backyard. I use an ambient weather station, and this weather station is an all-in-one. It measures my wind, my temperature, humidity, light levels, rain, and all that stuff all in one unit. And I send all that back over to Home Assistant on a GW1000 EcoWit gateway. That gateway is locally connected to Home Assistant, so all of my weather data comes from my weather station in my backyard and goes directly into Home Assistant. This eliminates having to have a cloud function. So if you're looking at getting local weather data, I recommend some sort of weather station that will integrate with Home Assistant. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about integrations that you can put in Home Assistant. You can see here quite a few integrations related to weather, and to see this list, you just come down here and you select on weather, and it shows you all of that. So we have AccuWeather is a big one, AMET, Ambient Weather Station, which is another thing that I use just to compare values that come into my weather station and what the cloud's getting. Dark Sky, which is deprecated now. Some of these other ones aren't specifically for weather, but more like thermostats. But for me, I use the National Weather Service, and I also use the meteorologist, the met.no setup. There's also Open Weather Map and a few others here that you can use. Just depends on your area and what's available. In the US, of course, National Weather Service is the big weather provider, government weather provider, and that's what I use for official weather updates from some of the reporting stations around the area. One of the other maps that I use that I like a lot and will be an integration that I'll show you is Blitzortung. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it is a live lightning map. It's also an integration, like I said, with Home Assistant. And it shows you all of the lightning that's going on around the world or wherever they have lightning detectors, which is a huge part of the world. In the US, there's a number of lightning detectors around, and we have all of this lightning that's currently going on. And you see the flashes, which may or may not be visible in the video. But every time you see a flash like that with all the little lines, that's a lightning strike that is being detected by all of the detectors that it sees or that sees the lightning strike. What I find super interesting about this is how far away these lightning strikes are detected. Some of these go way up here into Colorado from down here in the Gulf Coast. That's hundreds and hundreds of miles. So what I do with this is I use this to detect lightning because my local weather station doesn't have a lightning detector on it. And then I feed this into an automation that tells me how many lightning strikes are. And when it gets to a certain point, I'll get an alert on my device telling me that there's lightning in the area. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Okay, so to use these integrations, most of them require some sort of API key. There's a couple that don't. So you'll have to go through and set up the different API keys based on the integration. And if you click on one of the integration pages, let's go back down here to weather, and you'll see what I'm talking about. If we go into National Weather Service, for example, it uses a web API. And typically you'll go in there and you'll need to put in a string required for the API key. And an email address is suggested in case they need to send you some information. That's one of the ones that requires an API. Something like AccuWeather also requires some sort of API key. Again, some of these also have limitations. So for AccuWeather, it's possible to configure only one integration instance. The limited trial account allows only 50 API calls per day, which is about 2 per hour. So if you're just getting weather forecast data, that's probably plenty. If you're trying to get some sort of change in temperature on a rapid basis, you're not going to be able to use this one. So there's various different versions or different APIs for different things, and you're going to have to pick the one that works best for you. Again, I use National Weather Service for my primary, and then met.no for the secondary. Okay, so adding these things is fairly simple. So first we're going to go to the integration. So I hit C key on my keyboard, and I'm going to type integrations because I want to navigate to the integrations page. Now, some of these also require an HACS or some other add-on, and then the integration is available. But I'm going to click on Add Integration for National Weather Service and see if it's available. Here it is right here. Again, it requires an API key. So I'll put in an API key here that I have for it. So something like that. And then you can choose a METAR station code. If it's not the one that's nearest to the latitude and longitude, you can put one in. I'll just put one in. So I'll click on Submit. And now it's created the following configuration for that METAR code. And now you should have one service and 13 entities. So if I click on the service, you'll now see that I have this day-night forecast page. And clicking on this, I now have all of the rest of the information, including daily forecasts, temperature, air pressure, humidity, wind speed, and visibility. Now, these are all entities within Home Assistant or attributes of an entity that you can then pull into a dashboard and use that if you would like to. Again, I use local control or local calls to my weather station in the backyard, so I don't need to plot any of this stuff here. But what I do like is that I can get a forecast, and I'll show you here in just a minute how I use that. All right, so let's do another one. We'll do the Met Office. So we'll add another integration, and let's see if I can get myself out of the way this time. So I'll add an integration here, clicking that little blue button over here, and I will click on, or I'll search for Meteorologisk Institute, and I know I'm going to get slammed for saying that wrong, but that's how I do. And then it picks your information. By the way, this latitude and longitude, it pulls from your settings within Home Assistant. So whatever you have set is what it'll put in here. However, you can override those with anything you want. If for some reason you live in one area where your Home Assistant is and you want to get weather information from a different area, you can certainly change this latitude and longitude to what you want. So I'll click on Submit, and it's now completed that. And so now I have Meteorologisk Institute, and again, it's got the same information. It's got temperature, air pressure, humidity, wind speed, and then it's got daily forecasts, high and low for each day. The National Weather Service has day and night forecasts for each day, so it's got double the amount of forecast data here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have that information. So those are 2 of the 3 things I want to show you integration-wise. The next one, we'll add this one as well. This one is the Blitzortung, which is lightning detection. Now, before you add this, though, you need to go over to HACS, and you need to actually install that. So over here on the right is HACS. Let me bring myself back here. Hi, I'm back. All right, so at HACS, this is an integration, and I may have it installed already. I do. So I have the Blitzortung Lightning detector, and over here you can click on this Explore and download repositories. Search for Blitz, but because I already have it installed, it's not going to show up here as an ad, but it would show up here, and then you would click on it and add it. It's super simple to do that. HACS functions the same for all of them, so you just do it the same for everything else. So there it is installed. So if I go back over to integrations now, all right, so navigate integrations, and again, we're going to add integration. This one's Blitzortung, and then I'll submit. And it's found it and configured it, and we'll click on that. Now, if you click on configure here, again, your latitude and longitude is displayed, and then it defaults to a lightning detection radius in kilometers of 100 kilometers, and then a time window of 120 minutes. Now, this time window, along with this lightning detection radius, is going to determine how many times you've had lightning strikes on your lightning counter. So 100-mile radius or 100-kilometer radius within 2 hours, that number of lightning strikes will continue to climb. Now, this is purely preferential here. I may not want to know when I have lightning 100 kilometers away, and just let me do some math here. 100 kilometers to miles. That is 62 miles away. Now, if you think about a storm potential or a typical severe thunderstorm running anywhere from 25 to 35 miles per hour, This gives you about an hour and a half to 2 hours of time to prepare if you start getting a bunch of lightning strikes. If you're in the pool and you get a lightning detection alert on your automation or whatever you set up, you might want to have a lot more notice. So you would leave it at 100 kilometers or whatever. So anyway, you set that however you want to set it up, whatever works best for your setup. And then you would just submit it, and the options are there. And then you have 3 entities that come along with this. You have your azimuth, your distance, and your counter. And your counter is the one that you would use to set up automation to tell you how many lightning strikes you've had within a certain period of time. Now you can see here, yesterday, we had a thunderstorm come through. And on that thunderstorm, we had right up at about 750, 770 lightning strikes up to this point. And then from there weren't any more strikes, or maybe 1 or 2 maybe. So we had a storm come in and it just ran through, and you see what happens with that lightning detector or lightning counter. So you've got the lightning detector. You've got a couple of different forecast offices in your setup if you're using what I'm doing. Why do I use more than one forecast office? Well, let me show you. I'm going to show you a dashboard that I put together already. I'm not going to go through how I built the dashboard. There's a lot of videos on that. I've got a few videos on how I put dashboards together. But if I look at my main dashboard here and I look at the weather page, let me show you. This is a page that I put together, or a dashboard, that is specific to just the weather stuff that I put in. In terms of having more than one forecast or weather office, I never use a single one because they're so different. They use different models, and so you may have a little bit different forecast. What I'm looking for is a close agreement. It's either going to be hot, it's going to be nice, or it's going to be cold. And with these forecasts like this, I can determine how close they are to each other and kind of pick a medium range or an average and just kind of see what we're doing. So for example, as I said before, National Weather Service uses day-night forecasts. You have a day and night for Sunday. The Met.no uses one forecast for Sundays. In fact, it's one day ahead. This is just today because it's day-night. So for Monday, we're looking at a high of 79 degrees. And by the way, last week in May of 2022, it was over 100 degrees for 4 or 5 or 6 days. So this is very nice to see. 79 degrees. We're finally going to get some rain. We had a little bit last night, but this is a lot more rain that we should be getting. But the point is 79 degrees here. And then we have for Monday, 83 degrees. So the range is going to be anywhere from 79 to 83. And it just depends on the models and the forecast offices that do this and all of the data that they use. So I know it's going to be cooler, somewhere in this range. And even if you live in an area where it's 79 degrees in one spot, it could be 83 degrees 2 miles down the road just for conditions reasons. 82 and 84 for Tuesday, that's pretty good agreement. So anyway, that's why I use a couple of different ones, especially on just a weather-only dashboard, because then I can kind of look at it and get an idea of what's going on. In addition to that, this is my outside temperature from my weather station. This is the dew point, or the feels like, or real field temperature, or whatever you want to call it. That's calculated based on humidity and temperature, and that's also coming from the EcoWit GW1000. And then my outside reported humidity, my max wind. My max wind was actually today was at 3:09 a.m. And yesterday was during that storm, and it came in at about 9:23 p.m. at 15.8 miles per hour. So I always like to see that. It's kind of a nice to know thing. You can actually set the wind speed plus max wind because I do have room for that here. And then these little muted things are rain today, rain rate, and then weather alerts. I have, and I didn't show you that, but I do have another weather alert integration. So let me just show you that real quick. This one again requires HACS first. So if you go back over to HACS, and this is in the US, this may not apply to other areas of the world, but it does work here in the US. For integrations, I want to find NWS Alerts. So here's NWS Alerts, and you add this like you do any other Home Assistant integration, and then download it and it'll install it in there. So then you would do a reboot once you get it installed, because it's an integration that requires a restart. So we'll do that real fast, check our configuration. All right, once you have the HACS set up and you have the integration installed through the integrations, you want to configure that integration to cover your zone or county ID. And again, this is US based stuff. So if you click on here, you look at alerts, you can go down here to the county list or the zone list. And for me, for example, Bexar County, I'm going to have a zone list of zone 205 and a county list of, or a county designator of C029. So I'd put those in my configuration, and we can look at that over here under Home Assistant. And I'll show you, this is all my production stuff, but that's fine. And you would put the zone IDs. So something like this, and it gives you the link right here again. So your PAC 049, WV 031, you would put those in here, and then you would know what zones to alert for. It will also do the update interval and the update timeout. Now this was all pre-populated when I initially set this up, but you can change these to whatever you want. So if you want to have alerts from zones outside of your area, you could do this as well and have alerts for other areas that even where your Home Assistant isn't set up. You just choose those wherever you want to in here. All right, so here's the dashboard. The only thing I want to show you that's special on this dashboard, first of all, there's lightning. This is the lightning indicator. I may not have mentioned that before, but this is the Blitzortung Lightning detector, and this shows how many lightning strikes there have been. Again, that's that same picture. And then you have your weather alerts here that will go, to me, it'll turn red, and this will change to a bright red. So my opacity would be 100% here. Again, all this dashboard stuff you can do. You can see where I've set up various dashboards through some of those dashboard videos. But here you have alerts on this one as well. This right here, and I'll just show you quickly how I did this one. On this card right here, I actually added in a web card. It's called a web card. So you would just click on something like add a card, and you would search for web. And actually, let me cancel this out because this is inside a grid. If you do add card over here, click this add card button. This is how it really looks to you. And I would say web, so a web page. And then I would put in the URL that I was looking for. And I actually found that URL. Let me show you this whole thing here. There it goes. This URL is actually the whole page that I'm using for this particular web page card. And I just copied the URL from up here at the top of the page. I just copied this whole URL and I pasted that into this box over here. So if I do that, let me just copy and paste it now. You'll see what happens here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on just a second. There we go. Now, a couple things. The aspect ratio, they automatically set at 50%. I want that at 100%. And then one of the things about using this is that this is now interactive. Since it's an iframe inside of a web page, it's interactive. So if I just click on plus here, I can play the radar. I can also change these menu items up here for things that I want to set. So all of this is controllable within this particular, if I can hide it again. I don't know how to hide it anymore. Here we go. It's all configurable within this little window right here. So let me just remove this one because it's not needed. And you see that we have it right here. So now you have your radar, you have all of your information, your weather information that you're currently collecting. You've got some forecasts and you have a complete weather page. All right, let's jump into some quick automations before we run out of time on the video. So I'm going to go to automations, and I've already got one created for the lightning. So let me go down here and see if I can find it. Lightning alert. So I created a new automation. Click in the new automation button down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and edit that now. I gave it a name of lightning alert. It's just going to run single. It's going to look at the numeric state of the lightning counter. And that entity is the Blitzortung Lightning counter. And I'm butchering that name every time. I apologize. I want to know if the lightning count is above 10. If it gets above 10, then I want it to send me an alert. It's going to send me an alert via my mobile app, and it's going to have a message of lightning detected, a title of lightning detected. And for Android, I have a priority of high, a TTL of 0, and a channel called lightning. And on my phone, I can actually set a different sound effect on my phone for this particular alert channel. And you can do that for all alert channels that are on your phone, on Android, at least the later versions of Android. So anytime I get a lightning detection or get more than 10 strikes, and again, remember that the strike count is dependent on the radius and the amount of time you specify in the integration. For 100 kilometers, for 2 hours, if I get more than 10 strikes in that particular threshold, then it's going to send me an alert here. All right, so that's lightning. Let's just add another one for National Weather Service alerts. So we'll do this one from the beginning. Hiding behind me here is the add button. I clicked on that. I'm going to start with an empty automation. And there may be blueprints for these things already. I just haven't looked, but I'm just doing the simple automation. You can make these automations as advanced as you want to do as many things as you want to do. It's really up to you. This is NWS Alerts. And what I want to do here is I want to trigger on a numeric state again. And I'm going to do an NWS Alerts sensor. And I want it to be above 1. Once it goes above 1, that means there's at least one alert, and I want it to notify me of that alert. Now, there are ways to go in there and create a template to make that alert probably show you what the actual alert is, and I will probably do that later on. But for the simplicity of this video, I will not do that here. What you want to do is then do for me, I want to call a service, notify. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can flash a light. You can turn on something. You can make a siren go off, whatever you want to do. But for me, we'll do the phone. And I will just put a message in here, NWS alert. And for the title, again, this is where you could potentially put in a template where it would display what the kind of alert was. I actually need to see the alert first to see what that looks like before I can templatize it. And I haven't had any alerts since I installed this yet. Again, I'll do NWS alert. Just have them the same. And then for this, again, I can do TTL0. So it overrides the sleep of the app. And that can do priority high. And I can use the same channel, or I could use a different channel. But since since it's weather related, I'm going to use the same channel for both lightning and for this NWS alert. And then I'll just save it. And if I want to test it and see if that works, I can run the actions. And maybe you can hear it. You might have heard that. It set that's the lightning channel, or the sound that I picked for the lightning channel alert on my Android phone. Okay, so what did we do? We talked about integrations. We talked about different types of weather integrations, the lightning integration, the alerts. Showed you a quick little dashboard on how I put some of those together for a quick view, and then went through a couple of automations. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. You can also ask me in Discord. If you have suggestions on new videos or have suggestions on better ways to do some of this alerting, because I know you can get pretty advanced on some of the alerts and the automation, let me know, and I will build in some of that alerting as well, because we're all learning from each other. If you're not a subscriber, I appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. If you're not a channel member, consider joining the channel, or even using the super thanks that are down below this video right here. You can just do a one-time thanks to support the channel and help me continue to make these videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.